Sri Bhagavan and me. I was born far away from Arunachala on 19th September 1936 at the village of Ramnath district. It was named Kaana Dukana, which means the Lord who rules over the crematorium. As a newborn baby, I was brought to the presence of Sri Bhagavan. My parents prayed to him to give the baby a name. Sri Bhagavan said, "He has not given me that trouble because he is born with a name. I was born on Ganesh Chapter-3, which is the god Ganesha's birthday, and I was thus named Ganesan by Sri Bhagavan." In 1938, the family was shifted to Tiruvannamalai. The ashram arranged a small house for our stay near the big temple in a street named Avarankathu Tharu, which also meant crematorium. Even now I live near the Yama Lingam, which is a crematorium, perhaps proving the old adage, the end is contained in the beginning. Even before my head and mind started dominating, the search for truth occupied my heart, imperceptibly though. Two everyday things attracted my attention and puzzled me to no end. The first, my eyes, which were so small, could contain the huge Arunachala hill and the tall temple towers with ease. How is this possible? I asked myself. The second puzzle was, where did the hill, temple towers, and trees in front of me disappear when I closed my eyes? And further, when I opened my eyes again, how and from where did they all reappear? Therefore, what is the truth? The appearance of the scene or its disappearance? Later, when I was studying in the elementary school, I had to go through the courtyards of the big Arunachaleshwara temple. Every time I looked at the huge towers, more than 120 feet tall, I used to mentally admire how grand they were. One day, suddenly for no reason, I squinted my eyes while I was looking at the tower. Wonder of wonders! There were then two towers in front of me. Which of the two towers was true? Among the two, which one was built 700 years ago, and which one was created by the squinting of my eyes? The search continued. In due course, while treading the spiritual path in search of the truth, I became aware that it paved the way to one's birthright for self-realization. I worked hard to obtain the grace of the Guru through intense sadhana, through sacrifices, through sincere self-erasing surrendered service. For I clearly understood that I have to continue to stay in the spiritual search all the time, to know and be immersed in the essence of truth. I confess that my spiritual search from childhood was not to know the truth of existence of God, but the truth about truth itself. The verse of Sri Bhagavan in Reality in 40 verses, that is verse 20, got implanted in my heart very deeply. In it, Bhagavan says, to see God as apart from the seer is only a mental image, since God is not separate from the seer. To abide in the poise of the self, truth, is the true vision of God. The more I started reading Sri Bhagavan's compositions, the more clarity started dawning on me. A realization dawned that to get released from the limitation of mental images in one's mind, one should go beyond it to its very source, to the center without circumference. I started feeling deeply that everyone is God, especially every devotee, old and new. When I was working in Sri Ramanasramam office, we used to go for a walk in the forest with Kunju Swami. Often we would take a detour and step into Annamalai Swami's ashram and bask in his presence. He used to give us ginger tea, which we enjoyed very much. Every time we went, I would prostrate to him. While getting up, and I was still in the kneeling position, Annamalai Swami would put his hand on my head, ruffle my hair, and then put his head on my head. At that time, I thought that it was his way of greeting me. Even a few years later, when I was there with my friend Anuradha, he did the same thing. Anuradha asked Annamalai Swami why he was ruffling my hair and putting his head against mine. And he said, in 1938, Venkatu, which is what Annamalai Swami called Ganesan, his family was brought to Tiruvannamalai. This Ganesan was a toddler. He had a peculiar habit when he was taken to Sri Bhagavan's hall. He would climb down from Sri Bhagavan's sister's lap, crawl towards Sri Bhagavan's sofa, and try to climb up. Sri Bhagavan's attendant, Krishna Swami, would stop him and place him back on Sri Bhagavan's sister's lap, saying, "Do not try to establish any special family relationship here." One day, Sri Bhagavan had sent Krishna Swami away on some errand. But this baby Ganesan very quickly crawled up to the sofa and climbed on it. To prevent him from falling off the sofa, Sri Bhagavan pressed baby Ganesan down into the sofa with his left foot, and placing his right foot on his crown, ruffled his hair. And Sri Bhagavan exclaimed, all these days, his repeated attempts to climb up on the sofa were foiled, but today there was no one to abort his efforts. So finally he succeeded. Sri Bhagavan thus blessed baby Ganesan profusely. My master's holy foot is there, Anuradha. I put my head not on Ganesan's head. I am putting my head on my master's holy foot. One day when I was 3 years old, I went and prostrated to Sri Bhagavan. When I got up, Sri Bhagavan said, Ganesa, go. Your Noi is seated there. Go, sit on her lap. I ran joyfully towards the elderly American lady and happily clambered onto her lap. She was Eleanor Pauline Noi. Much later, I came to know that Noi was all the time shedding tears in the presence of Sri Bhagavan. Sri Bhagavan might have wanted to distract her by making me sit on her lap. This was not the only incident where Sri Bhagavan's grace linked me to her. The same year, I went one day into the dining hall when Sri Bhagavan and the devotees were seated for lunch. Heading straight for Eleanor Pauline Noi, I insisted on eating from her leaf plate. The cooks and several of the seated devotees were aghast, steeped as they were in orthodoxy. For them, even the thought of a Brahmin child sharing food from the plate of a Westerner was abhorrent. They came running to save me from this so-called unthinkable act of pollution. Adamant on having my way, I started throwing a tantrum and creating a scene. Sri Bhagavan's attention was drawn to the whole drama. With a single look, he took in what was taking place and advised the cooks, "Bring a plate of food with a spoon in it and show it to the child. He will come along with you. His insistence is not to eat from her plate. Since Ganesan has never seen anybody eat with a spoon, he too wants to eat with one." The cooks did as Sri Bhagavan suggested, and I followed them like a happy puppy. Sri Bhagavan looked at me and remarked, "See, your wish is fulfilled." Then he turned to the cooks and others and said, "And your problem too is solved." I was very short until adolescence. People used to call me Kutai, meaning shorty in Tamil. There would be 100 people eating in the ashram dining hall in the presence of Sri Bhagavan. Everyone would be served first, and Sri Bhagavan would be served last. He used to pay much attention to the food servers. I wanted Sri Bhagavan to look at me with the same attention. So I thought that if I too served food, Sri Bhagavan would give me the same attention. I went inside the kitchen and said, "I want to serve food." All the cooks were elderly widows, and they were all very fond of children, especially me, because I moved very closely with Sri Bhagavan whenever and wherever he walked. The vessels were so big and I was so short, the cooks restrained me, saying, "No, no, no. That's only for grown-up people, not for children. You go and sit with Sri Bhagavan and eat." When they refused, I started to cry out loud and threw a tantrum. Sri Bhagavan heard this, looked up as if to inquire, "What is happening?" One of the cooks told him, "Our baby Ganesan is throwing a tantrum." "What? What does he want?" "He insists that he would serve food." "What is wrong with that?" Bhagavan said. "But Bhagavan, he is so small. All our vessels are bigger than him." "That's your problem, not his. Put salt and a small spoon in a cup, give it to Ganesan, and send him to me." So they did. I felt very proud. I came to Sri Bhagavan. He looked at me and asked, "You want to serve?" I said, "Yes, Bhagavan, I want to serve." Of course, what I wanted was his attention. "Do you know how to serve?" Sri Bhagavan asked me. I said, "No." "Do you know why you want to serve?" "No." "Do you know where to serve?" And once again I said, "No." Sri Bhagavan smiled and said, "I will teach you." "Do you know what is in the cup?" "That I know, Bhagavan. It is salt." I said very proudly, "Do you know how much to serve?" "No, that too I do not know," I said, rather ashamed. He said, "Take some in the spoon." No, not that much." "Ah, that's it." "Do you know where to serve?" "No, Bhagavan." "Put it on the banana leaf on the top left-hand corner." I was very happy because Sri Bhagavan was paying so much attention to me. I immediately put the salt on his leaf, just as he instructed. "It doesn't matter today," he said, "but you should serve this leaf last." I looked at the others in the big dining hall. Then I went and served them. And when I looked back, I was thrilled. Sri Bhagavan's attention was on me,